the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We're going to take roll. Edith, according to Janie, you said she was running about 10 minutes late.
10 minutes.
So we'll get to that point. We'll take a little intermission and we'll wait for it. Sue, would you please take the roll call for the Environment Committee?
Sure. Nancy Carson. Here. Randy Juris.
Here.
Kathy Cudlow. Bob Moses.
Here.
Cynthia Rattay. Here. Margaret Sabo. Here. Karen Swees.
Here.
Jody Reese.
Here.
Larry Woodso. Gary White.
Did you get Randy?
Yeah.
Janie, do you want to take roll call for your group?
Okay. Chairman Burian.
Present.
Jody Edelman. Dan Fleming.
Here.
Dan Kenny.
Here.
Bob Kamen.
Present.
Jim Orban. Bob Schmidt.
Yes, ma'am.
Jerry Young.
Present.
And we'll note the manager Mertens is here. And we're good to go.
Okay. Why don't we just go back? We'll have a little bit of an intermission until she comes.
Okay, I just wanted to, you all had the materials emailed to you, but there's a copy of the agenda and the materials that Edith provided over on the side table there if you actually want a hard copy of it. And otherwise you already have the materials, so.
So partner to us, we do have it's a community room, so we let the school district have a 3-day art camp here. So this was day 2, our new experiment with our community room. So we're working through the bugs. Just a little bit of housekeeping. We do, once this meeting ends, we will separate into the 2 separate committees. The Economic Development Committee will go across the hall. The Environmental Committee will stay here. We have kind of set this meeting up from 7 to 7:30. Don't let that stop you. We're not trying to rush you out or rush the speaker. We just didn't want to guess on a time and have people waiting around for the next meeting to start. So ask as many questions as you want. We have a good dialogue with the speaker. And then whenever you start the next meeting, we start the next meeting. So if it runs late, you guys are the members for the next meeting, so it really doesn't matter. But I just want to let you know that, so don't feel like you have to end it at 7:30. Ask as many questions as you want. So that's how we're kind of handling it. So just let me let you know.
Are there that many people named Art that live here that we need to have a special art room?
You never know. You never know.
Initiatives with the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. Thank you for coming to Homer Glen. We enjoy having you.
Well, thank you. It's really fun to be back in Homer Glen. It's been a few years since I've been here, and I have to say, coming out of the Madison downtown, it's just beautiful. So you have a great community. Thanks for having me back. So I used to work with Morton Arboretum many years ago, and work with Homer Glen on tree preservation. So it's been a couple of years. With the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. And does everyone know what that is? Can I give a little introduction to the Mayor's Caucus? Please, go ahead. Yeah. We're a regional council of governments. So there's Will County Governmental League, there is Lake County Municipal League. They're all members. So all of the COGs, we call them councils of governments, along with the city of Chicago, we're actually founded by Mayor Daley, wanted regional cooperation. So we're one of the few regional councils of government in the country. We have 275 member municipalities, and we're very open. Any municipality can be a member. We prefer that you pay dues, but that doesn't mean that we don't all work together. In fact, just today we had Urbana with us on our environment committee. So we're very inclusive. We also provide some programs to other local units of government, including park districts. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to manage some grant programs over the years, and it's very difficult to draw a line and say, okay, cities can have money for energy efficiency, but park districts can't, or townships can't, so we're very inclusive that way. So that's what we're a not-for-profit organization. We're actually really tiny. The whole organization is 4.3 people. We have one part-timer, so we're not a big program. I like to say our reach is very broad, but thin. So we're trying to be very strategic, and the Greenest Region Compact was part of being strategic in that way. What can we do to be helpful to municipalities and local governments within the capacity that we have? And so, and is there anything in particular you want to hear from me before I get started, or shall I just start to go through the presentation? Anything you're looking for out of this presentation I should know about?
No, I think you can just...
Okay. At the screen, or at this one thing I forgot to ask you, put at the laptop or the screen? Laptop.
If you just click it and there you go.
So what I'll do today is I'll talk about the Greenest Region Compact, and I can't do that without talking about how it was built. So we'll kind of go over the purpose, but how it was made is a big part of what it is. And its finished product is in 3 parts, and you have the booklet in front of you that contains the Greenest Region Compact, the framework, and then I'll talk to you about current and future supported programs. And then I am seeking support for the Greenest Region Compact by municipal endorsement, so we can get to that at the end of the presentation. So the Greenest Region Compact, as I said, we're a regional organization founded by Mayor Daley and the COGS. We had a program that was quite successful, started, I don't really know when it started, before my time, but the program was a simple one that said we have a regional air quality problem, and if we all work together, and every community or every day even had businesses at the time, do a little bit, and we count that, basically counting the emissions reductions, the region was able to support or report that there was emissions reductions that were meaningful to the US EPA, and we turned around and then provided some feedback to the municipalities and businesses and park districts that were participating and said, oh, you did all these wonderful things, you get a gold plaque or a silver plaque. So that's the roots of one of the parts of the Greenest Region Compact that in terms of our foundation, and I want to get back to this type of a reporting and recognition program. We had an original Greenest Region Compact, which is why it's called Greenest Region Compact 2. I didn't really want to come up with yet another name. There's a lot of green things out there. This first one, again, before my time, it had good participation. It was more of what I would call a common type of a pledge. There were 12 items that you could do as a municipality, and the request was that you sign it. You got free light bulbs from ComEd, so it was one of the reasons that people signed it in larger numbers, and then you were supposed to pick a handful and report back. There really wasn't any development of that program or follow-up. So that program, while it was a great name and we had a lot of communities participating, didn't really carry forward much. And then the other reason we wanted to update the Greenest Region Compact was just the importance and the growth of sustainability planning in the region. It was very important for the Mayor's Caucus to have a sense of what to work on, me in particular as a program leader, what are the priorities that I should be working on, but also how can we collectively sort of get back to this regional impact. So that was the reason that we were doing, that I wanted to do this update of the Greenest Region Compact and its purpose. By the way, sorry I missed that. Homer Glen did participate as a Clean Air Counts member, and you earned the gold level, so a certain number of activities. Does anybody remember that? Remember that? Some people still have, some municipalities still have a committee, the Clean Air Counts committee. But the program ended. We replaced it with the Greenest Region Compact. It hadn't been funded in many, many years. So just because this is a joint committee, I wanted to talk about sustainability and sort of the difference with environmental programs. So my background is forestry. I had a long history in terms of working on environmental issues. But what's neat about the new concept of sustainability is that it doesn't stop with just environmental advancement, but it picks up, in order to be sustainable, it has to serve these 3 legs of the stool. So society, economy, and environment, or sometimes they call it people, planet, and profit. And that's really what makes things sustainable. The chairman of my environment committee, who's the mayor of Park Forest, Mayor John Ostenberg, whenever asked about sustainability, do you know him? Yeah. Whenever asked about sustainability, he always says it's about the human condition. So, we come to this in different places, but the real sweet spot for sustainability is where they all come together. It doesn't mean that there still aren't parts of the environment or parts of society that are more important to us than others, but that's really the magic of sustainability. It means it can be sustained for a period of time. So the purpose then of bringing the Greenest Region Compact and updating and creating this document was to align the environmental issues, the priorities, look at resources and actions, so we could be strategic, both at the local level and the regional level, so that we can have greater impact. And when I am a very visual person, and when I first started doing this, I had envisioned actually taking all of the sustainability plans that are out there and kind of stacking them and saying, well, what kind of is the most prevalent through all of these plans that we should be working on? And that's more or less what we came out with. Another image that comes to mind when I say align is if you've ever seen the nature films, you can see fish swimming like this and suddenly they snap and they all move in one direction. I thought, well, what if we all moved in one direction, at least for a while, and what could we do in terms of sustainability? So that was the vision. And then to create this document, it was a shut up and listen process. So we did a lot of studying and listening in order to create the Greenest Region Compact in the early years. And I wanted to ask two fundamental questions. What's already being done in the region, and what existing programs are out there that are good, that should be replicated and used and leveraged. So kind of built on what's already going on and what tools do we have. Example of that one was, I shouldn't have to study and ask, well, are trees important to a community when we have 140 Tree City USAs? That actually is the fourth most common of our environmental achievements. So it was looking at those kinds of things that were to be informative as far as what should we be working on. So to answer those questions, this was the shut up and listen phase. We said, well, let's look at the Tree City USAs and all those kinds of programs like that and see what we find in terms of what's really active. So we tallied environmental achievements, and they included grants. Very common that we tallied grants because it was very easy for us to get from a third party like a state agency. We looked at grants, we looked at membership. You know, are you a Chicago Wilderness member? Did you sign up for US EPA's Water Sense Partner? Do you have a farmer's market? Do you have a sustainability director? Did you get an energy efficiency grant? So put all this together, and what we found were some really neat things. So there were two main takeaways from this part of the study, and what you'll see these color categories repeated throughout. But these color categories, which I've trimmed, I think, for length here, represent priorities. So it told me very much of looking across all of these plans what the priorities are. Land conservation should be important for you to know, but across the region, looking at 290 municipalities, a little bit bigger than just our membership in the Mayor's Caucus, was land conservation. Anything having to do with land stewardship, development decisions, land preservation, sustainable landscapes, urban forestry. That turned out to be the biggest, hottest topic area across everything. Energy was the next one. And then the purple category is a lot of people. That's where we get into sustainable communities. It's kind of a catch-all category. So I found out what people care about, or what communities care about, but the really interesting thing was how many communities are engaged. Now, what you're looking at here, these are categories by count of achievements. So on the Mayor's Caucus, this database is represented a different way, and you can look at Homer Glen, and you can see the number of achievements that you have. And there were some surprises here. So for in the sustainability world, we keep hearing about some very high achieving communities. And so that's Evanston and Oak Park, Chicago. They're in the elite category. So every grant, every membership, every program they participated in, and fully for them, but that's only 1% of the communities in the region. What I found was that there are a lot of high achieving communities that you would not have thought of. But here's the real fun part. The number of communities that are actually participating in sustainability programs. So I called it in the medium category and the lower achieving areas, there were still communities that do not identify with green that were doing, that were part of a solid waste agency, that were doing curbside recycling, that had gotten energy efficiency grants, and all of these had water meters. People don't think of that as sustainability, but what that says is that all together we have 81% of the region participating in sustainability and ready, in my opinion, to at least be receptive to more. So that was the big takeaway from the achievements portion of the study. And that's the map, comparative, at least for your region. Like I said, it's interactive on the map, on the website. And this is, the reason for doing this was not to rank communities and say, my goodness, who's the greenest. It was done to really study what's going on in the region. And I will say there are a couple of caveats on this. So you're a lot greener probably than reflected there by all the things that I know about Homer Glen doing. But what we did in order to get the snapshot across the region in very big areas, we looked at the same measures across all the areas, tracked by third parties. So in other words, it had to be a sustainability accomplishment that we could find. That's why we use memberships and grants and certifications and things like that. So advancements in really clever programs, if we couldn't find a source of doing that, it didn't pick up. So it was a tool and it was useful and it told us a really important thing, but shouldn't be necessarily a reflection on how every community sort of looks from a sustainability lens at the regional level.
Is the size of the pie population?
Size of the pie is population, yes. And then well, I guess it's actually it's number of accomplishments. I take that back. It's not just so that the ones that are just one or two will show up as very tiny. Bolingbrook, not. Well, I guess it is kind of a big community. Yeah.
What's the number of what? I'm sorry.
Number of achievements.
Okay.
Number of achievements is what we were able to count. So that is the size of the pie. And if you hover it over it on the graph, it doesn't tell you a lot of things. It might say that's like 13. I'm guessing 10 or 13 achievements, which ranks, just so you know, I'm probably curious, that would put you in the kind of the medium tier. They said not necessarily reflective of how you identify yourself. So I've had, especially high achieving communities that don't like this, but it wasn't, again, done for ranking. It was done to say what's going on in the region and how can we work together. Any other questions on the achievement side?
So when you say region, is this the region?
That's actually a snapshot because the resolution on the map I can't do. So the region, we actually studied 290 communities. So our region for the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus is 7-county metropolitan region.
Okay.
We found, as we were doing this achievements, we found that Normal and Urbana and Rock Island, there were communities that were very, very active outside of the region. So we picked them up just to get a sense of what
Just do have some central Illinois.
Yes. It wasn't every community, it was the high achieving ones outside there, because it just made sense, and Normal actually has, just communities that are very quick.
Yeah, I'm from Normal. I grew up in Normal.
Oh.
So it's,
Great sustainability plan, yeah.
Right.
So it was, I wish it were statewide, and I wish we could keep tracking things that was just kind of, for study purposes, it was part of the foundation. Any other questions on this part? Okay. And so this is what I have of the ones, again, that for you that I found in this study. So the access to parks and open space met state national standards, and so that was obviously really important for you guys to check out. This may or may not be totally accurate. The period of study was 2007 to 2014. You were a Clean Air Council member, have reported curbside recycling through the state. You did the electric aggregation program with renewables, got some grant money for open space and parks, one of our Admiral Ashmore grants, which I administered, environmentally focused citizen commission, which is a kind of a personal passion of mine. We were able to find that. This Green Vision program that you have there, that was this, the Green Communities Demonstration Program, that was the early IEPA, I think we funded that study for you, that document over there. I recognize you for a sustainability plan. And a few others, we don't have to go through the whole list there. Okay, the second part then, we also integrated what you're doing here in Homer Glen, is that we wanted to look at all the sustainability plans. So if a community already has it planned, this was my original vision that says, look, let's stack up all these sustainability plans and see what's very common. So to bring it all together, and communities commonly learn from one another by, let's look at what this community did and try to find like-minded communities and borrow a sustainability plan or whatever project you're working on. So we did that, and we did that in a big way. We looked at all the sustainability plans we could find. We found more than 30, but in order to be compared, we wanted to find actual goals or objectives in the plan. So some were visionary, some were report cards. So the ones that had specifically said we would like to do this, made it into the analysis portion. We read them all. Then we also looked at regional plans like CMAP has Go to 2040. We looked at the STAR Community Rating Index, which is a very high-level elite sustainability ranking program that's sort of came from ICLEI, climate action thing. And the U.S. Conference of Mayors, some of the original one. We put our Greenest Region Compact, the original one, back into the database. So what we got out of that, we looked at 1,149 specific sustainability goals, and this was the part where I was able to sort of overlay them and get what's going on in the region. So this is the sustainability plans, and this is not judgment on any of them. This is simply a side-by-side comparison or a database that reflects the number and diversity of the sustainability plans that we found in the region. So again, the study period from 2004, you were part of that first cohort of communities that got the sustainability plans, so very early leaders in this. And the focus of the plan, according to the study, was mostly, there's a little bit of water on there, I think, water or air at the top, and mostly land preservation, and then the sustainable communities category, which includes people and leadership and things like that. Orange is climate. Didn't really enter the picture until Evanston started talking about it in 2008. And the blue category, the air quality goals, kind of waxed and waned. This is as chronological as well as just the community. Some interesting things here to point out is community like Woodstock doesn't necessarily mean it's a fantastic sustainability plan, so that's the number of goals they have. So kind of depending on where you sit with planning, you know, is that achievable? I don't know, but that's a very, very broad plan. The ones that I tend to like are the ones that are balanced with sort of the number of goals per category. But there really isn't, this is all very individual for a community. So again, not a judgment, but we synthesized all this. And the next picture is of the regional ones as well. So this is what it looks like when you put it all together. And even our own Greenest Region Compact here was not what I would call very diverse. So this is U.S. Conference of Mayors Climate Protection Agreement, sort of the first time municipalities really made a statement on climate and sustainability. The very diverse here. The Go to 2040, big focus on land conservation, and then other issues related to sustainable communities where you would see economic development, job, workforce creation, transportation is a big portion of that. So again, this is interesting to observe side by side, but the fun part came when we put it all together. So we took that database, those local and regional plans, and then analyzed them and said, okay, well here, and we did a lot of categorizing and recategorizing to get to what is the structure of a sustainability plan, what are the hot areas. And this is the number of goals per, or the proportion of goals, I should say, across the categories. And we added some, so you'll notice that here you don't see the yellow. I kept reading statements in the sustainability plans and said, we want to make a difference in the region. We want to be leaders amongst our peers. We want to talk to other civic leadership groups like the other statewide councils of governments and national ones, and be part of regional planning. So that's where the leadership category emerged. We actually folded the air category, even though we started out with clean air counts, because most of the air stuff was picked up in climate. Is just where we move things around. So we tried to be concise, but there was, as you can see, based on the number of goals, again, lots of interest in land going forward, and lots of interest, I can't see the colors from this. Which one's purple? Mobility. Mobility is actually smaller than people, the colors look the same. But lots of interest in people, land, and energy. Kind of is the
What is mobility?
Mobility would be anything related to transportation.
Okay.
That's kind of the more popular term anymore, but having to do with, it's inclusive of road planning, transportation, public transportation, and then alternate transportation. That's the mobility category. So, and we also added a category for municipal operations, which it was anything that was uniquely municipal, that lots of sustainability plans that we want to lead by example. Or there are things that only a municipality can do. And that's where I put one of my favorite tasks right now is related to alternate fuel vehicles or greener fleets, because again, only a municipality can operate a green fleet. Anything else having to do with alternate fuels would end up in the mobility category if that was something you're trying to do for residents or businesses in the region. Okay, so any questions on that part of the study? So it all comes together in the end and gets tied up with the bow. I hope. So then, the idea was, let's squish all this together. What's already being done in the region? What do you want to do? We added outside expertise. So we did some outreach to professionals and advocacy groups and partner groups. So we had an advisory group, something like 40 communities, and said, hey, here's what we found on, take for example, alternate fuel vehicles. There was a lot. It actually turned out to be the 13th most popular of the goals. There was a lot of interest in that, but most of the actual statements from the sustainability plan said, let's reduce emissions by switching to a cleaner fuel. Let's try electric vehicles for our administrative fleet. Or I use this facetiously, but it might have been as specific as let's try, French fry oil in street sweeper number 10. So those were kind of all over the place, but when we looked at it, we synthesized and we said, well, they're really interested in getting new vehicles, is what it sounds like. They want greener vehicles. It turned around to advisors who run the state's air quality program. There's something called Clean Cities Coalition, which is the Department of Energy funded alternate fuel advocacy organization or umbrella council, and said, it appears my municipalities are very interested in alternate fuel vehicles. How should they do that? And they came back and said, well, yes, of course you want to get new vehicles, but first you should right-size your fleet. First you should inventory your fleet. Then you should right-size, use the right tool for the job, makes perfect sense. Educate your drivers, make sure that everybody's using the vehicle in the right way. Find if there are other technologies that you can use that would reduce your fuel consumption before you go out and buy that shiny new truck. So that was what we got out of it, where the goal was we want a greener fleet. And we also said, well, if you want a greener fleet, you might be stopped by the fact that there isn't access to certain types of alternate fuels and stations that are very expensive. For example, CNG, compressed natural gas, is a very expensive station to build. Maybe that's the best truck for municipal fleets, but you can't get there unless you cooperate with your neighbors. So then we also added in cooperate with, work towards regional fueling stations. So that's actually what's in the Greenest Region Compact. And I'll go before cutting ahead, but I'll come back to that as an example in here. So the actual goal is operate a safe, clean, and efficient fleet, but steps in the municipal operations category are those specific steps that we got from experts. So the whole thing is a big mashup, and we tried to make it as clean, as straightforward, as comprehensive, and as well vetted as we possibly could. Not perfect, that's why there was an update just in March, is because we had a pollinator meeting and we missed out some activities related to the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. So not perfect, but pretty good cut, we think. And those are the categories that we came up with. And the actual compact, the adopters of the Greenest Region Compact, we have 53 adopters thus far, municipalities that have adopted it, and all of the regional councils of governments have formally endorsed it. And to adopt it, it needs to go through the village board or city council. So it's not just a mayor's pledge. And that's why I'm very happy to have this kind of a dialogue for the communities that have looked at it a little bit more deeply. The actual compact is just the goals. So that is a 2-page document. I did see that was handed out, and it's in this booklet that I gave you. So all of that research and data got synthesized and boiled down to the very high-level goals, where I talked about all the details of municipal fleets. It just says operate a safe, clean, and efficient fleet. So we're asking municipalities to endorse these goals, and there's no commitment. It doesn't mean you have to report 7 activities or you have to do anything to sign the compact. It just says get on board with the goals and work towards them in your own community and help us regionally when there's an opportunity for that. So that's simply the pledge, and there is a sample resolution that we're asking you to do that. So again, no commitment. And I will say that this is the lighter version. So some communities don't have a lot of capacity for sustainability. They're joiners. They think it's a neat idea, and they'll sign on. So we had a kind of a first blush of communities that said that's great. And then those communities that are a little bit more engaged said, well, this is kind of interesting, or maybe you're missing the point here, or something. We want to have a little bit more, learn a little bit more about it. And so we're still looking for adoption on that. And then the framework. So all that rich data that we have, and all that we learned about those cool programs and suggestions on how to get them done, landed in the framework. So the framework for a community that would like to do a sustainability plan or use it as a reference document, it's disconnected from the compact, so you're not obligated to do anything. When I was just in Flossmoor a couple of weeks ago, and their sustainability commission looked at that and freaked out and said, we'll never get all this done. And that's not the point, and nobody's going to hold you to it. But if you want to learn about, maybe it's an area you're weak in, alternate fuel vehicles, maybe it's an area you're very strong in, land stewardship, you can see where there are things meshed together, and you can be assured in knowing that whatever was in your original sustainability plan is in there. Because nothing was left on the cutting room floor, and that analysis of 39 sustainability plans that we used all landed in that. In concept, some of the exact wording, and mostly in concept, you should find, so it should mesh nicely with yours because yours is baked into it, quite frankly. So that is, we think it's a neat tool. Right now it's presented in a booklet format. It is on the website in an Excel, so it's more interactive. As a spreadsheet, you can look at things, and I'll step through it a little bit. It's still complicated, and just this week, actually, we're putting in a draft proposal for some technical assistance to try to make it a cleaner, user-friendly interface. But it's still there, it's good stuff, just needs to, you need to work through it. So it is organized around the goals, and to create your own sustainability plan, if you wanted to do that, you would select suitable objectives and create a plan from that. So, have the patience to walk through a step here? Bear with me on this one. So this is a snip from the municipal operations category. It's red, and there's a little civic icon there. But say you wanted to use the Greatest Region Compact 2 framework to create a sustainability plan, or thought it was time to update a sustainability plan. So this is the actual high-level goal here that relates, and that's what if you sign the Greatest Region Compact, you agree to lead by demonstrating sustainable values and practices. Again, that's all you aim at, you adopt as a goal. But, the animation is correct here. And then the way this is set up here, so again, the example of using the framework to create a sustainability plan relates to this goal, and the specific objective is that you want to create a sustainability plan. We'll get to the other part. And that's the plans for each of these tasks. You could look through some of these and decide they're not what you want to do, and we'll get to that next. But this is kind of an inventory phase here. So again, to kind of work through this, so your plans for each related to these goals. If you've already achieved them, you already have an interdisciplinary team that can coordinate your internal sustainability efforts. I believe you have that, and you can say, yay, we did that. So you don't have to worry about that. So it doesn't have to be part of your plan, or it can, kind of depending on what suits you. And you might have already adopted the Greatest Region Compact. Again, pat yourself on the back for doing that. By the way, this column is links here. So this has some links to resources. So if you wanted to find information on the Greatest Region Compact, or here's third-party certification for public facilities, you can do that. So this tool can be helpful in that way, finding how to get things done. Those that are not relevant to you, you can eliminate. So this would be already achieved. This is not relevant. This is kind of the way to take this big document and make it more tame. Achieve sustainable sites certification for public landscapes. This is maybe something you'd be interested in. Kind of a detailed, strong certification that might be a little bit much for many communities. Might work for you, but you can pick through the ones that don't work for you and then eliminate that. And again, this can all be done in the Excel version. And then what you might get is a reduced set of objectives within each particular goal. And then you can start to put some time frame into that. So you could say, you know, and for you, again, you've been talking about the Greatest Region Compact, so you could say that's in progress and we plan to adopt it, based on what Edith says when she comes out here. So, and then you could, you know, again, likewise, you can say these are some things that maybe we'll put off for later. or we're not planning to do it or not relevant. And then based on some feedback from others, we kind of have a place where you can, if you're passing this around to other departments, this is what Schaumburg is doing right now, sending it around to other departments saying, oh, we've done that, you know, and pass it to the water department and the transportation department and the public works department, and they can fill this in. So it got to be a little bit more of an interactive tool so communities can assess what they're doing and start to take this vast resource and take it into a sustainability plan that's useful.
No, I mean, I go through it and, you know, I see the list of items on there, and one of them is like, okay, train and educate staff on sustainability practices. So how's that done?
I don't have a lot of resources on that one, so this is not fully figured out. I mean, that could be something that, because I don't have a link on it, I don't, how is that done?
So, you know, so from the municipality like us, we look at that and we say, okay, that's something we want to do,
Right,
but we've never done that before.
right.
So where do we go to say, is there another village or municipality that we can work with to say, how did you implement something like that?
Sure. And that's some of the things that we can do at the caucus, where again, we're a very small staff, we can't do everything, but we can get into it a little bit in terms of what the future programs look like. So that feedback, once I know where communities are at and what their priorities are, helps to say, not even just me, it's not like we're going to get it all done, but for example, on solar energy, there's just a lot of money coming this way for solar energy, and I've been able to say, hey, we've got 53 municipalities that expressed a desire in renewable energy. State of Illinois, are you going to work with us on this? Or, you know, foundation. So not everything is, and just like with the sustainability plans that were done individually by communities, there were some goals in there without specific paths forward. And this offers some paths forward. If you actually look in the more updated one, because I know I had edited it just specifically, like the land category, which is green in here. And there were specific tasks in there, lots and lots of goals and objectives on land. We put in specific ones related to, it's page 11, sustain beautiful landscapes that provide ecosystem services. We found a lot of goals in the plans that said we really care about this stuff. And we just updated it because of one of the things that you can do to achieve this goal, increase the quality and amount of sustainable landscaping in the community, is adopt the Mayor's Monarch Pledge or register your gardens on the Million Pollinator Garden Challenge. So this does have some tools in it. It was produced last year, and this is after the study. So in some cases it's good to go, other areas is potentially a suggestion, or is something that resources will follow later. And fleets and solar, I'll come to that as examples. But pretty much it's at this point, it's a tool to help you take a lot of ideas, sometimes coming from residents, sometimes coming from staff, or everybody collectively saying, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. Kind of pull it all together in one place, and then, you know, we can work together to find resources to get them done. Okay, so that's just a quick walkthrough on the framework. We have done some training on that. Like I said, it's, in my opinion, needs a little bit more work before it becomes totally usable. There is an intention of getting additional grant funding and moving towards a program that kind of comes back to our Clean Air Counts program. So say, for example, and my role model for this is a program called Sustainable Jersey. And Sustainable Jersey has more than 100 communities, 120, 130 communities that are enrolled in this program. They don't have as robust of a framework as we do, but they enroll in a program and say, yes, we want to be part of this, and uploads a sustainability plan and then reports to this organization. We had an electronics recycling program and collected X pounds of electronic waste in it. That would get reported into the system, and then at the end of the year there'd be metrics and then some recognition for a community. So that's a future plan that I have, and then, you know, kind of coming back to our original, you know, provide some recognition to communities, because that's important too. You know, you were gold level on Clean Air Counts. Right now we don't have the tools in place, but the program's only about a year and a few months old. Some of the things we are doing now. So that's more of a future program. With the cohort of communities that are already enrolled in the Greenest Region Compact, I have a strong history in terms of managing grant programs, and we move, for a small organization, we move a fair amount of money through the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus. We've lost our energy efficiency money because of the new state law, the Future Energy Jobs Act. But if we have a competitive grant program, it's very helpful if we know we can tie a community back to the Greenest Region Compact goals and offer preference. So right now, the only competitive grant program, competitive one that we have is related to public safety. Well, that's actually in the Sustainable Communities portion of the grant, and those applicants that had adopted the Greenest Region Compact got 10 points. Now, is that fair? I don't know. You know, it's part is 10 points. It doesn't mean that we didn't fund communities that didn't adopt the Greenest Region Compact, but the idea is moving forward. And on the grant programs and the green fleets, the Volkswagen settlement, you've probably heard about the Volkswagen issue in the news. There is a settlement, unsettled yet, but there is an allocation that is expected to come to Illinois of $110 million. And if I know this was the 13th most popular goal related to green fleets, I'm trying to get ahead of that grant money and say, this is really important to the municipalities. I have 53 communities that already said they really want green fleets. Can we program some money so municipalities get that? And I'm making some headway. So I actually have a meeting, it's a forum with the municipal fleet managers next Tuesday to give me feedback, to say, hey, there's going to be money coming your way. Before they design a grant program at IEPA to distribute this, or decide that it's too hard to form a grant or create a grant program, they're just going to buy transit buses, tell me what you need. So this is, the compact is meant to aggregate desires, wishes, priorities in a community so that we can then interact with agencies and resources that have assistance and might have some funding.
Was some of that money supposed to go for electric car charging
Yes.
stations?
Yes.
Along the expressway?
It is, and there's some money. There's a little bit. There's a lot of interest in alternate fuel vehicles because of technologies. There's a lot of things. Clean energy in general is that's where we're going to see a lot more grant money. So there is some coming for that. Some of it is available already from other sources. That Volkswagen money is not yet programmed. So they just have look at funding, and they're required to reduce emissions and get dirty vehicles off the road. What I'd like to be able to do is say, municipalities are a really great place to invest because our vehicles are very present in a community. It's a great way to show off technology. You can have municipal vehicles that have a long life and stay in a community, and the emissions, clean air, reduced emissions would stay right there in the community. Kind of a public policy argument for some of that. Then the other thing that we are actually doing right now is trying to pool those communities that signed the Greenest Region Compact, and they'd be the first ones to be invited to a pilot program. And so there were two that we had done in just this spring. One of them was successful and one of them not. So we actually had a lot of mayors interested in pollinators and monarchs. So we put in a grant to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Federation to try to get money for grants to make to municipalities. So I was aggregating interest and was looking for a couple of $100,000 that we could have turned around and made smaller grants to communities. And we had 13 of our Greenest Region Compact adopters say, we'll take some of that money if it happens. And so we put in a grant request and did not get it, but we'll try again. And the one that was successful was on solar codes assistance. So we also have an environment committee, so you're asking kind of how do we learn from one another. The Mayor's Caucus has a number of dedicated committees, and I staff the Environment Committee. Mayor John Ostenberg, again, is my committee co-chairman, and any municipality can participate, ask a mayor to say, please, yes, we'd like to be a part of this, and then we get a lot of trustees, we get staff who come to these things, and sometimes the participation changes. But that our Environment Committee spent a lot of time trying to figure out where can we get into solar energy. And the real desire was to put solar on City Hall. And I can get into the technology, into the sort of the issues on why that didn't work, but it didn't work. And we were, kind of feeling around a little bit and decided with some guidance from the solar industry and some other advisors saying we really need your help on solar codes. because for the solar industry to develop, there needs to be consistency and familiarity to expedite development. They don't need, they want to spend a lot of time with inspections that are not necessary, or if building officials don't really fully understand solar, that if we can standardize across the region what's an acceptable code practice, that will help the solar industry grow and will reduce the soft costs, they call it, on solar. So we invited our Greenest Region Compact adopters and others. Again, everyone's welcome to participate. Beach Park just sent me an application today, and they haven't yet adopted the Greenest Region Compact, so up by Waukegan. And as part of a pilot program called Soul Smart, it's not a program, we've enrolled our now 15 communities, including Will County, so 3 counties and then 12 municipalities, to get technical assistance through this federally funded program. So it pays for a part-timer that I have working for us, and we're all going to get through this together and be certified by the end of the year. And you're still welcome to, our cohort just kicked off 2 weeks ago if that's of interest to you. That's the kind of thing that we can do. We can't tackle everything, but there are some things that we can do together. And again, that's also in the Greenest Region Compact, that solar codes and policies are a good way for municipalities to move forward in solar. So, and then just reflecting back on this is so smart. This is what I said. It is in the Greenest Region Compact. Actually, predated our knowledge of the Soul Smart program, which is why I don't have a hyperlink there. Is just that was recommended, and we were ready to go with it. So again, it kind of comes together when there are opportunities, both for municipalities and for us regionally. And then if we can talk a little bit about some of these, the Future Energy Jobs Act, because that's huge. Has everyone followed that? Really complicated, 600-page bill. It was advertised, or I should say it was sort of reported in the media that it was the nuclear bailout, and it was. But there was a lot of stuff in there that's both mostly good, really good for clean energy. There's some things in there for municipalities just in terms of our energy efficiency program that isn't fantastic. We'll be losing a little bit of money there. But there's going to be a lot of money swirling around for solar development, and there's opportunities for municipalities and businesses to host solar, where the value is in hosting an array, and private developers can access tax credits that public agencies can't. So there's likely, even though it's not necessarily grant money, there's likely money coming down the road, and we're trying to work through that together too. We've done some advocacy work and some education on how to get to solar. This all just passed, a lot of the bill passed in January. It became effective in June, and some of the programs will get rolled out in December, so very, very current in terms of the Future Energy Jobs Act. And then, so this is another one. Negotiate franchise agreements with utilities to exercise a lump sum payment option to finance clean energy. Is anybody familiar with that barrier here? Does anybody know about your franchise agreement? So
That's an interesting question.
it's an interesting, okay. Because we run the energy efficiency program, municipalities usually have a franchise agreement with the utility that provides unbilled electricity or unbilled energy. So you, in exchange for the franchise agreement with the utility, in exchange for the access that they are provided, they provide free electricity. And conceptually, it probably sounded nice. I will tell you, Illinois is the only state that does it this way, and the US EPA thinks we're weird. And we're trying to untangle it. So we actually got a little money to try to figure out another way to do it. So when I said earlier that solar on City Hall just won't work, because it doesn't offset any cost. And right now, solar is not free. There's no real grant money. Right now, it's market-based, and without having an electricity bill to offset, we can't make solar happen. We're making energy efficiency happen anyway, even though there isn't a cost savings. By the way, I had energy efficiency money through December 31st, and we're open for business on that. But it's a real barrier. So that's a policy thing we're working through together. And communities, we could come up with a model franchise agreement that would change things. You could get a cash payment, and potentially that could change the way you invest in other things, so not just energy. Okay, I think that's it takes me through the whole compact there, the Mid Region Compact. And I know it's a lot of information and it's really thick, but I hope you can benefit from the and not cooperating, but really sort of putting your heads together with other municipalities across the region, because that is what the compact does and was meant to do. And implementation, we're kind of looking forward to working through things together. Again, work in progress, very much a live document, and if policies change, Future Energy Jobs Act passed since we put this thing together, so it does change our priorities a little bit, but there's still terrific opportunities, and it's a great expression of what municipalities care about across the region. Anything from you? Any comments? Questions or comments?
You mentioned Park Forest. I was contacted by them last week to join their steering committee for their first ever clean energy and sustainability fair on June 23rd, 2018.
Okay.
And when I asked why they're having the fair, they said they realize that one of the most important things they need to do as an older community is to increase the value of quality of life issues within their community. But they got more technical than that, because they're going to set up a South Suburban Renewable Energy Association, and that's going to be the conduit they hope to use to get money from Commonwealth Edison to set up solar community brownfield
Right.
with the hope of eventually getting a microgrid put in through their organization. That will take advantage of the net metering situation that was made available with the Future Job Plan. So with regards to the training aspect that was coming up, the training itself isn't out there. You just have to network with other people.
Right.
That's what has to happen.
Well, or again, we can't do everything, but for the reason that we got involved in the Soul Smart program, because I program for the Environment Committee, I also might need to keep them engaged. So I took them to a tour. We've done a couple of neat tours. We went to the Intech training facility at the Illinois Brotherhood of Electrical Workers in Ulster. If you've been down 294 and you've seen a wind turbine, if you see the Coca-Cola bottling plant, by the way, that's all municipal water from the city of Ulster, so very important in terms of sustainability, of course. But the unions had established a training facility for electricians, and it is very progressive in that they invested their own money in renewable energy. So they have a solar array, they have a wind turbine, they have energy storage, and they have electric vehicle charging stations that they're training their electricians on. I took the mayors through there. We had a blast. And the union said, we really need your help on codes. So the Illinois Solar Energy Association said, that's the place you should be. So kind of waited, sort of take that information and say, we need help on codes. And then when the Soul Smart program was announced, we were, weeks later, that we were ready to go. So I applied for the Soul Smart program last summer. We got a grant just this year. So knowing that our communities need that, we were there. And I just came back from a training 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C. with the National League of Cities on solar codes. So it can come, we kind of need to articulate it. But you're right, the training is out. Is it out there? Not necessarily. I also went to a conference on brownfield development with the Community Solar and the Future Energy Jobs Act. And I was visited by a solar developer who said, we need sites. We need 5 to 10 acres sites, the municipal land. Well, I don't know how to help make those connections, but I'm not afraid to say the municipalities need help. I don't want them to just say, I'm not going to turn loose the developers on municipalities and say, go talk to them. It'd be really nice if we sort of got our act together. And this is something that you could help with on the economic development side, is who has expertise to work with municipalities. And it's very often the municipalities themselves in terms of setting up leases that are favorable for capturing some of this investment, because it's coming. Again, not grant money. It's not the traditional model. I've been in government for a long time and I've written a lot of grants. It's not like that anymore. In order to make rooftop solar work, you have to set up a power purchase agreement, and that just leverages markets and tax credits that I don't have the expertise on. I'm a tree girl, that's my thing. So, but if we put our heads together, then we can get this thing figured out. Kind of what I had in mind. But, yeah, that's neat. That's really neat.
I look at this, and to be honest, I reviewed all this before I came here, and I look at all these objectives, to be honest with you, and I go, wow, this is a little overwhelming. So when I asked you the question about training and how these objectives came about, you know, for some reason, this objective has to come about, and how do you judge a certain community and how this strategy needs to be done? And when you go through here, there's over 100 or so, right? So when I pick one and you give me an answer saying, well, there's not really a set way, then how does Mike Martin, the mayor, go through a strategy through this and say, do we decide which ones do we pick? You know, and then how do we make our pie bigger? You know what I mean? That's how I look at it. So, you know, I look at goals and I look at land preservation. Hey, we do a good job of that. We all know we do. But then, you know, I think there's 4 pages on it.
There is.
So I guess, you know, to me, I would love to sit down with the people that came up with this and kind of said,
I came up with this.
I mean, it's amazing to me. I'm just gotta be honest.
It's me and it's the 39 communities, that 30 communities.
Right.
That's where all of these goals come. I did not interject a single goal into that. Well, maybe the one on sustainable landscapes, because I put a lot more in there on trees because I'm the author of it and I could. But for the most part, nothing was left on the cutting room floor. And that is where, when I gave this to US EPA, and they said, well, this is crazy. Why don't you just pick the top 10 things that work for your community? Well, then who's going to pick the top 10 things? Do you want to hear from Evanston? Because I will tell you, the rest of the world is not like Evanston. Evanston got one of the recognition programs here. It's called the Star Community Rating Index. And Evanston told me, oh yeah, we got this. You can get a 3, 4, or 5 star. Park Forest broke their backside to get a 3-star rank. Evanston had 8 interns working all summer to get the 5-star rating. You want to hear from Evanston about this? I heard that. I'm like, that's not like Alsip. That's not like Franklin Park. That's not like Homer Glen. So what is realistic? So this is everything. And what doesn't suit, it's still a menu, and maybe it's an overwhelming menu, maybe it's the 30-page diner menu that's too much. But you should approach that first with, this is not relevant for me, or we're already doing this, we should pat ourselves on the back. It's not meant to be, do all of these things.
No, and I guess from my standpoint,
Right.
So what do you recommend as a strategy for the village of Homer Glen on how to get, maybe you guys are doing some of this stuff, which you are, but as I look at the bigger picture, okay, I want to be part of this.
Right.
It's a good thing for the environment, right? I want to take some of these things. Some of these things, I don't know where to go. So where do you go from there? You know, and I know you're probably the quarterback,
Right.
right? But I guess from my standpoint, it's like, you know, we have the economic development committee here, we got the environmental committee here. I'm kind of wondering where the economic development committee fits in here. All right, how's that going to work?
It does. What I would say, by no means am I an expert on things that the community's done over the last 15, 16 years. We have accomplished some of the things on this list, right? So, as a manager, I look at it in a couple ways. It's what resources do we have? Staffing and volunteers. What financial resources do we have? Very limited for a community without a property tax. We basically live off sales tax and state income tax, and that is shrinking over time. What does the community want? We just started that. We did the national survey. We just got the results a week ago. We're starting to summarize those, present those to community. So what does the community think are important issues? And we didn't highlight a ton of these things, just a few. And then going to what Edith has said is there might be 100 things in here, but as a community, as a board, and as committee members, maybe there's 10 things in here that staff-wise we can handle, commission-wise we can handle, financially we can handle it, and are the most important thing for the community. And to me, that gets into strategic planning for the community, and we're starting that conversation tomorrow to see if that's something that the board members want to do. So you take, these are great ideas. You know, we have 16 full-time staff and 8 part-time staff. So Evanston's 8 interns, right? You know, so that's half our workforce, right? So we might have a few things in here that we really can achieve, and maybe even achieve, not necessarily in a month, but over time, right? What can we do in a year, 3 years, 5 years, and then keep going back and resetting it and say, is that still the goal for the community? Is it still the focus? Do we have the right resources? All those things. So, you know, as Edith mentioned, you know, I'm constantly stealing ideas from our community. So I would call, I know the assistant manager in Evanston, I would call her and say, what did you do? We saw you did X. Send me the ordinance, send me the backup data, send me all this, and so I don't have to start from scratch, right? There's seminars that I go to, the board members go to, staff members, whether it's ICBA conferences, INL conferences. None of us are in this alone. And the last thing we all want to do is reinvent the wheel on these ideas. But to me, I don't profess to be an expert on what the community wants. To me, it's taking a step back. What does the community want? And then focusing on those goals. I love that overlapping chart that you had that showed the economic, the money side, the environmental side, and the social side, right? You got 2 groups. This group tends to focus more on the environmental side. You focus more on the money side, the social side, maybe it's a different group. But it's that sweet spot. What does Homer Glen want to be, as I like to say when they grow up? What's the sweet spot that we want to have? You know, is it more sidewalks? Is it more walking paths? Is it, you know, sustainable products? How does that attract businesses? How does that attract residents? How does that keep residents? All of those things filter together. And as the community talks about all this, we're to realize what bubbles up to the top, and that is what we should focus on our resources. So, you know, to me, it's not as simple as just adopting this. It's using this as just a tool to say what's important for the community. That's how I would look at it. I'd reach back to the committees to say, what's your advice? And then obviously the board members, and then try to prioritize it, because there's no way we can do half of this stuff, let alone, you know.
Right, I mean, we just don't have resources. No. But on the other end, it is a good tool to follow.
Totally.
Because you can say, okay, well, you know, we're looking at doing a certain project or something like that, how does it relate to this?
Right.
And then, you know, kind of use the resources and.
Yeah. So the survey that we've got, and again, we haven't shared it yet with the committee members because we haven't presented it to some of the board members yet, but, you know, there was very telling things that came out that were kind of obvious, and then some that weren't obvious, you know, which was great, because then you can see the blind spots, and then you kind of then focus on some things, and then the board and the committees are going to look at those and just say, okay, here's some ideas, you know, walkability. Homer Glen's not exactly the most walkable community. That could be something that we focus on. We're focusing on when we build new roads, and that's great, but how do we link it? Walking paths actually came back, and it wasn't as high as I thought that it would be, because we keep building more paths, but right now they're not connecting, you know, up enough, right? So we're building small segments, which is great, but, you know, but that's limited resources and all that. So focus on all those things, and that's just an initial go, and then hopefully we get into strategic planning, and then that focuses right into budget, right into goals, right into what the committee members hopefully then start focusing in, because board will hopefully identify 5 things, 5 projects, and then we focus all our limited resources to achieve those things. So to me, these are good starts. I'm happy to hear that everybody doesn't just accept the whole thing, because that's...
No, and that's not even what you accept. What you accept, and what I'm asking for, is just to say you're on board with the goals. Basically, you know, join in, and then so me that it helps me move forward, and it updates from what you've done in the past. So hopefully, and we'll try to do some marketing on this so that the communities you're back on board with this. So that's all you're adopting. Think of it as completely disconnected, because I don't even have the tools right now, so you can't tell me here's all the great things you've done, because I don't have the capacity to receive them and say you get a gold plaque, or here's the ambitious things that we've done. We just don't have it. It's right now. It's you know, 2 people and 1 person runs our energy efficiency program. So that's exactly that. It's a tool. I hope it becomes more, but right now it's a tool. And it's at least said, what should we work on for sustainability? And there's 2 lessons in even just what I learned for the sustainability goals, because at the mayor's caucus, a lot of people, recognize we've reached 275 municipalities, and people, you got to work with us on food scrap composting. And my inner gardener who composts says that's going to be a hard thing for municipalities to do. But I listened. And then energy efficiency, I don't love. I'm a natural girl, but I don't love energy efficiency. When it showed up at the top of both lists, guess when I shut up and do energy efficiency? Because it hits that sweet spot, right? It saves you money. It's, and when we do light fixtures or we do street lighting that's safer, it's better for people and you're saving money and it's better for the environment. So those are the kinds of things that I learned, but at least you can benefit from that and say, we're getting a lot of pressure on food scrap composting. Food scrap composting might be right for you, but there were 56 goals related to energy efficiency in my database, 2 related to food scrap composting. So for me, I'm working on energy efficiency. I'm working on municipal fleets, not because it's at the top of the list, but because there's money. So I don't necessarily say I'm going to start at the very top and work my way down. I'm going to go where I can get things done. So I think it's okay to put some things on there besides just the ones that you can do within your capacity that are aspirational, to say, boy, if there were resources available, because you really never know when things are going to, we did not know we were going to get Volkswagen money. We did not, I figured renewable energy was coming, but these are big policy changes that, make it easier to get some things done.
I'd just like to go back to the question that one of the Community and Economic Development members posed, how does his committee fit in, or how does economic development fit in? And I like to say what this program does is it makes each community think about what they can do to better their community and make it better quality of life or what have you economically for their people. And in the world of competition, it is very important because all of the businesses are competing with each other, no matter where they are. And there's a lot of reference in this to economic development or enhancement or businesses directing things or what businesses can do. And because we think of the term environment as a separate thing from some other activities that are going on. Yet the environment is all inclusive. We work in the environment. We can't get rid of it, but we can damage it. And so this is a way to encourage communities to grow and to realize they've made some mistakes and how what direction can they go into and what can they look for in other communities to see how they've solved their problems. So I look at, if someone were to take these goals, some of them have done this already, and where does it take them? It takes them to a better place to live. Now, I don't think people are going to McCook to live. And there's reasons for that. So a community like McCook, I don't know if they can ever recapture themselves. But people are coming to Homer Glen for certain reasons that are already here and established, or it's natural that other communities are trying to create themselves and redo themselves. Where Homer Glen has a terrific opportunity to go forward, to be a leader, so that the economics or the businesses in this community thrive because they're attractive, because they are part of the whole network, because we all work together. And that's why it's so important to have this meeting today with these two committees. I wish that others could do this, and it would be a great thing for Homer Glen to have more of these meetings. So that it's not just two committees, but it's staff, it's the trustees, it's the mayor, working together. And when you make a decision, when a project comes forward, you look at it and you say, does it fit our goals? I mean, does it fit the direction that we want to go in, or is it this reversing? And one example is, there's a lot of things in there about what to plant, landscaping and trees. Recently, there's been some terrible things happening to the land where people have decided that they're going to clear cut. But that doesn't help our goal. That is really off the track. And then how do we correct that? So that's my philosophy.
I'd like to talk about the sustainable, robust urban forest canopy, how important it is. It supplies habitat, ecosystem, food sources for wildlife. Here in Homer Glen, about 30% of the residents live on 1 to 10 acre lots. So we are really urban, and the one thing that we're trying to push, the Environment Committee has been trying to push is, if you want a lot that's treeless, buy a lot that's treeless. If you buy a wooded lot, and the people who love those trees, don't cut them down. And as Margaret is saying, we're getting people buying 3, 5, 9 acre lots, and they're clear cutting them. So we want to know, where does a tree ordinance fit into your plan?
I think it's in there. And that was probably the last time it was in Homer Glen was to help on the tree preservation issue. One thing just on the kind of regional view is you are not alone. So regionally speaking, trees ranked in the top 10 in terms of priorities, and the Tree City USA was the 4th most common achievement we tracked. So there's a lot of interest broadly across the region. So that also says, hey, this is a priority for the region. But there are suggestions in here, and again, the urban forest category might have gotten a little carried away because of my heritage, but there is in here a suggestion for tree preservation policy. Now, how you get it done, kind of to your point, is how does this happen in your community? That's not an easy thing to do. There are a lot, communities that have been working to try to get that done for a long time, and it's not an easy policy to pursue. But it is part of a bigger picture that says that's part of what the greenest region, what everyone in the region, or communities throughout the region, have voiced an interest in a robust urban forest. I wish it were easier on the tree preservation policy. I worked really hard.
Just have a quick question on, I went through this and I really like.
Well, thank you all for studying. I really appreciate that.
I highlighted what we're doing,
Yeah.
and like I put little asterisks on the ones that I thought we could do possibly, and I gave them an extra point when you have this yes.
Yes.
Because
Super.
that means there's a link to
resource.
additional resources. So the only way I can get to that additional resource, is that through the Excel sheet, or how do I get to that?
Yeah, that's
additional
actually
resource?
hyperlinked, and this week we'll be putting in, because I do my own fundraising as well. We're going to try to get a capstone project through University of Illinois to get a graduate student to do some more work on this, so that we can fill out those links, because we had a launch deadline and I was working by myself and I did my best on that. So it is live on the PDF if you download it, and the links. And it's only because if I had a brilliant graphic designer, there probably would be something better than a yes in the link to resources column, but you got me. And that's what we were able to do. And we did have a consultant help with reading all the sustainability plans, just so you don't think I did that by myself. The Excel does have that, or it should be hyperlinked in the PDF. And if you have suggestions, we're happy to update this as best we can and add more resources. Again, in my mind's eye, there's more sharing that says, so you want to find out who has an excellent urban forest program, here's some super duper case studies, and look at what Homer Glen's done. So that is what I see, that's what the Sustainable Jerseys program is like. But again, we're sort of at the, launched and growing, but not where it could be yet, because the Soul Smart program that I'm working with, we put together, I don't know a lot about codes and policy rebuilding, but we put together municipalities, there's 15 municipalities in a room, and there's some really smart people who are going to get this figured out. So that's kind of how I see the whole solutions in the region is, we get a chance to learn from one another. And I would welcome anybody from Homer Glen Homer Glen to send a representative to be part of the Environment Committee, because I think it would be really good for us to put our heads together. We just had a meeting today, and we had our popular roundtable, so communities from Highland Park, Haynesville to Urbana, and Algonquin, and everything in between kind of were participating in sharing ideas. Good.
So the resolution endorsing the compact is one thing, right? And we've done that. The secondary thing would be adopting. My question on looking at it is sort of a menu.
It's actually, the adoption is just as you support the goals. So then you're kind
So
of
endorsing and adopt the
endorsing
resolution?
and adopting is the same thing.
And then from that point on,
Then from that point on, I don't want to say you're unwrong, you do what suits you. So exactly what Sue did, start marking this up and saying, hey, we really like these things. Or that's part of what we got out of the survey that's important. Or that was a really good thing that came from your first sustainability plan. So that is a tool for you to use. I'm trying to provide more support to it, but there's nothing adopting here. If you want to do 4 goals and get them done this year, that's up to you. If you want to do 30 goals in the next 2, whatever works for you. In your own time frame. So it really is just a framework that says we will then create our own sustainability plan, and some people want to do that with, this is going to be assigned to you, or we're going to get this done in 2 years, and whether or not you want to include things that you've already done. If you want me to do a little more walkthrough on how to work through this, we certainly can. I can spend more time in detail. But probably a good thing for you to do exactly what Sue did here is start to assess. We've already done this, or that's underway. It's a good start.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, and hope everybody got a little bit out of it, and I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Joe and Bob, thank you so much.